What's up, guys? It is Modern Craftsman Monday, and this week we have Tim Holton, not to be confused with the Tim Horton that Johnny thought it was. Much different podcast that would have been, but Tim is a small-time contractor down in Pennsylvania, bought the company from his father. We dig into that a little bit. And then later on in the show, Tyler shares memes.
Yeah,
I know this is a podcast,
true.
and you're not going to see them.
It's a can't miss.
But it's
Yeah,
worth
and if you guys do know how to get a hold of Tim Horton, let us know. We want to try and get him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, we got a bet going on that.
So we can kind of jump right into. We have Tim Holton. What's your company name?
James K. Holton Incorporated.
That sounds
My
fancy.
company name.
Doesn't sound fancy.
John thought it was Tim Horton for a minute.
I thought you owned some breakfast joints.
Oh, I wouldn't be doing this.
Meant? I was like, I looked on his Instagram. I'm like, I don't see anything about breakfast joints.
I was joking.
I can't
No,
always
if
tell when
I
you're
was
joking.
if I was that dude, I wouldn't be doing this podcast or anything else. I'd be
That's rude.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
rude.
seriously,
I'm gonna
what's
get. I'm going to get Tim Horton on this podcast just to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And we'll call you up.
Someone call his people.
There's probably quite a few Tim Hortons.
Well, the first time I remember when I was a kid, I was watching one of the Flyers games, and it like kind of flashed past the thing, and it was, it said Tim. I couldn't read it. I thought it was my name at first. I'm like, man, I'm famous, but not so much.
Incorrect.
No.
So why would you say James what?
So James K. Holton, that is my dad. He started the company in 1991. He was kind of started out doing log homes and then kind of just branched it into more additions and renovations and everything. And then in 2015, I bought him out, basically paid his retirement for the next X amount of years until we can,
What's X amount of years?
It's paid off now. It was set up for 7 years, I think. I think it was set up for 7 years.
Would
but
you
we
put it on
paid it off.
layaway? How's this work?
What's that?
How's this work?
I think he was making double payments.
Put it on layaway? Like,
Pretty much. So the government wants their money. So it was tricky because they had to assess the value of the company because it was a family company. And we were, basically they want to make sure that a father just doesn't give his son the company. So we had lawyers and everybody involved.
Okay,
and
so
they
this
have
is,
to.
I know I'm interrupting, but
Go for
this
it.
is a conversation we had a couple podcasts ago, and I didn't realize we were going to go down this today. But
I didn't know we were either.
But I want to go to, like,
we don't have to. Okay?
huh?
We don't have to.
I'm good.
Okay. You weren't prepared.
I wasn't prepared. I'm never prepared. But I think this is what I was trying to get out of. I apologize. Was it Mike? Was it Mike that we
Sure.
talked about? But the point
Catskill.
is, what did it take? What was the process of buying your dad out?
So when I bought Dad out, first we talked to the accountant, just because he's kind of like a financial advisor and things like that. The accountant got us squared away with a lawyer. It was relatively simple in the fact that they just wanted to assess the company for the value of what it was. So there's a actual hard cost of the tools, the vehicles,
The
that
assets,
sort of stuff,
yeah.
the assets, but then the reputation. And that is where basically they just put a dollar figure. I can't even tell you what it is. I really don't even
I
remember
thought it was
what
priceless.
What's that? Yeah. But
No,
they
but
actually
honestly,
put a figure on it, because I guess if you're looking at me starting a company up from scratch, okay, I don't have the pictures to be able to put on the website. I don't have the reputation. I don't have the ability to say we've been in business for 30 years. I'm starting from scratch. So they take that and I guess look at, I think it was like the last 10 years of, gross income. And then there's probably some sort of mathematical figure that they work from for that.
But
and
nothing that they divulged. They didn't look at it and say, "Oh,
It's a multiplier.
Yeah, they double in business, so you're projecting they're forecasting out the next 5 years. It's not based on that.
No, it was nothing. It was nothing like that, at least from what I can recall, because I wasn't really, since Dad still owned the company at that point, he was, more or less the one that was in charge of getting it all figured out. And then it just came down to an agreement, and we had a meeting with the lawyer and signed over some paperwork that basically said I became principal owner, and I had bought the company.
So
and
can we play a game of like
Sure.
high low, like getting warmer? Like how much was this figure?
Under 100,000.
Were you able to haggle?
I would have got my own assessor and be like, "Dad, they actually think it's worth less." No, but
no, it's funny. I never even really thought about it. I probably should. I probably should have tried to talk him down, but it was just one of those things that was just kind of, it is what it is, you know? And so I think it was like, I think they assessed, it was somewhere around 100,000, I think total, you know, with everything, with assets and with what the company was worth at that point, you know, but we're not a large company. We're basically, you know, we're just additions and renovations and stuff like that. You know, on a good year, we may gross $500,000 in, you know, gross sales. So we're not, you know, up in the $5-10 million. We're, you know, you're kind of run of the mill additions and renovations in the smaller scheme of things.
Where are you located?
We are in Cochranville, Pennsylvania. So southeast corner of PA. So we're like probably 45 minutes to an hour from Philadelphia, kind of, I guess, southeast of Philly. No. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So we're down in the southeast, kind of like Maryland, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. We're down in that corner where everything kind of comes together.
And how big is your company? Or how big was your company when you bought it?
It was just me and Dad when I bought it.
Okay.
There was nobody else working for us. Now I was telling Tyler, I've got.
I feel like you could have got less for the 100.
I probably could have.
It's just you two now that. I feel like he's probably laughing.
I mean, you were 50% of that.
Sucker.
Like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I paid his retirement. So, you know, now he just gets to go around and drive the camper and go do fun stuff.
Did he leave?
Quick question. I want to backtrack a little. How old was your dad when he started the company? I feel like, I mean, you got to be how old are you?
I'm 33.
Yeah, so your parents have to be around my age. I feel like.
Your age? My parents aren't around your age.
No, I'm your age. Your parents have got to be my parents' age.
Yeah.
Was it later that he's like? How old was he when he started the company?
He started in 91. So he was born in 60. So what's that put him? 31.
Yeah.
He was 31 when he started it, and basically it was kind of like it was to the point. I guess that was a little bit of a recession right around that time frame too, and he got laid off from the company that he was working at with doing log homes. He was traveling around putting them up, and they laid him off, and he said, well, I guess I'm just going to go out on my own and kind of start it from that. And that's how, you know, it just kind of morphed into becoming incorporated and moving forward.
And that's in your same general area?
Yep. Yeah, I live about 15, 20 minutes from where I grew up.
Nice.
And when did you make the purchase?
January 1st of 2015 is when I took ownership of it. So it was probably a 6-7 month process. You know, we've been talking about it for years going forward. You know, so I guess I bought it when I was 29, and I had been talking about it since probably 2 years before. It was either, you know, it was kind of a goal by the time I was 30 to either take over the company or to go start my own company, just because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, I mean, him and I were rare ones where we actually got along very, very well. You don't see that with too many father and son companies. They're usually throwing tools at each other and, you know, butting heads all the time. We got along very well. We had some issues with certain things, but for the most part, I mean, yeah, we really were compatible.
I hope my dad's listening to this right now being like, did I ever throw a tool at Nick?
He fired me. He's the only person that's ever fired me. He fired me one day. I forget what I did. I probably deserved it. I'm sure I did. But yeah, he fired me. And so I went and worked with a buddy for 2 days.
Did you take unemployment?
Yeah, I seeked unemployment. faked an injury for workman's comp.
So filed for it.
Tripped off the deck on the way out.
So can we say, is $100,000 really enough to retire on?
No.
Oh, heck no. Definitely not.
Okay.
So I just joke about it that I was paying his retirement, but no, it's not.
Oh,
and he still works for me. He kind of went into, he just didn't want to deal with the paperwork, the permit. Yeah. You know, so he's now a subcontractor. He started another.
All the lawyers listening to this went,
yeah, get me in trouble going out there. Now he started a separate company doing more excavation work.
No one listens to this.
He likes to play on the tractor, so he does all the dirt work for us now. So he bought an excavator and a skid loader and stuff like that. He always enjoyed doing that. So
was that something you previously subbed out?
No, he had always had a backhoe, you know, because we do a lot of small additions. We could keep our schedule more online by having our own equipment to come in and dig our own foundations. Because that was always the hardest part, was having, you know, trying to get an excavator in there when you're doing a 20 by 20 addition.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
call me when it's bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So we were able to just kind of streamline our approach with everything. So he bought it probably 10 years into the business. He bought his first backhoe and started doing our own site work, but we don't do, you know, super large projects. So that was, you know, it was beneficial for us at that point.
He's going to sell you that business in like 2 more years.
No, he's going to sell my son that. I'll let Jameson take it. That boy is already, that boy is an excavator if there ever was one. He just sits there and plays out in the dirt all day long. Yeah, my son can take it. And then I'll just pay him off in the future.
So did you go to school or anything?
I did go to school. I didn't want to go to school. I grew up in a company, so I was of course, I thought I knew it all at age 16, 17, but my mom kind of pushed me into going into a more trade school specific. So I went to Pennsylvania College of Technology, and, I would say that was probably one of the more beneficial things that I did as far as just learning the theory. I knew how to do stuff, but I didn't necessarily know the theory behind it. I didn't know, I could figure out how to cut rafters, but I didn't know all the math and all that sort of stuff. I've probably forgotten a bunch of things, but yeah, so I went for 2 years, basically learning more hands-on trade school and some business skill. There was kind of like about half your time was spent actually like in the shop for 6-7 hours building stuff. And then the other time was spent, doing the book work, doing, learning estimating for basics and that sort of thing.
I wish I would have done something like that. I was so bored in school.
Yeah,
I hated school.
I wish they pushed it a little bit more because I'm actually on the board. So there's a tech high school.
Where is Pentech?
It is in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So
how far is that from you?
About 3.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that. Yeah, it's kind of right in the center of the state. It's up where the Little League World Series is at.
I have no understanding of where that is.
No, say the middle of Pennsylvania.
Middle of Pennsylvania is about as much as it sounds like that. Pennsylvania is actually a crazy state to drive west through because it's way bigger than you
Hershey
realize.
Park?
About an hour and a half from here, from where I'm at. Why do you care?
I've been there. That's the only part of PA.
That's a great park.
That's the only. Okay.
They got a rink there that I love skating.
I went there
What's that? The Hershey Arena?
Yeah,
Hershey rink.
It's like a
Where is that?
It's like a miniature.
I didn't realize
Boston
there was a town named Hershey.
You probably bought it.
It's where they make all the chocolate.
Dude, there's a Pella, Iowa.
There is?
Yeah.
Is that where Pella is?
Yeah, they have their own town.
What? Why didn't Marvin do that?
Probably is a Marvin, Minnesota.
They just moved.
Just sounds bad.
All windows come from the Midwest. Isn't that where Anderson's from too? Somewhere out in Minnesota.
I feel like it's the North. Yeah.
But Marvin also has
that.
Tennessee, right? And West Coast, right?
Yeah, they also have their glass company they own.
That's up there though, isn't that?
I think that's where the Integrity plant is.
Well,
Elevate.
Was.
Elevate.
Yeah. That's what they call them. Elevate now.
Yep. It's now Elevate.
And
so you went to Pentech for, was it like a carpentry program?
Yeah, so it would have been residential construction and construction management. Originally, I was signed up for the bachelor's program for the 4 years, and I went through the 2 year and then just opted out of the next 2 years because I really didn't want, what they did in the next 2 years was just gearing you to be a project manager. Mm-hmm. It was just, it was all book work and stuff like that. And I was one of the few, I wanted to work with my hands. I wanted to go, actually be in the field and build
I feel like
stuff.
He's looking right at me when he says that.
What's that?
Yeah, I was.
But yeah, I wanted to stay in the field and actually build things. I saw a lot of my friends,
in the field.
They're very successcul, but they literally just.
But do you feel as though do you wish you had taken the next 2 years?
No.
None of you.
Not really. Nope. I mean, there's certain things, but no, I would say. Really,
so from project, you guys are a smaller company, but is there any? I mean, you're probably still an acting project manager on your projects, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if anything, there's probably more so management than there's definitely more management than anybody ever tells you, because I am, I'm kind of everything, I'm every hat. I think that's what Johnny was at one point when you were doing it. It's like, I'm dealing with customers. I'm looking at jobs 6-7 months down the road. My guys don't see that. They just see me. We're on the job site at 7 working, and then it's after work. Meetings at 4 o'clock, and then it's paperwork whenever we can get to it, and then it's the whole thing, and then it's you're constantly. I mean, the text messaging and email, having your phone on you is definitely. I mean, way more beneficial than like when my dad had it, like now I can kind of keep scheduling rolling all through the time. It used to be, I remember Dad being up at 6 o'clock in the office, making phone calls and lining stuff up for, the week. And now I can kind of just, as I'm going, do my scheduling and keep everything going. But yeah, there's a lot more management than what I ever expected in it. We're in that stage where, my guys are great. They're young kids. They're 19 and 21, but they need guidance on everything. So I'm managing them all the way through. You've got to make sure, we're still the ones on these job sites. I'm basically the brains behind it. I'm just telling everybody what to do, and making sure that subcontractors can kind of deliver what they're supposed to. Even though there's tile guys doing stuff or there's plumbers doing stuff, I'm the one that knows the whole project. I got to make sure that they are looking down the road as far as I am, to be able to make sure that we're not going to have issues in the future with that. So not only are you doing, all of that sort of stuff, you're still the one swinging the hammer and doing all the actual labor to build it too.
So how are you teaching that? How are you getting them to look 2 weeks out instead of 2 hours out?
What's that? Say that again.
I said, how are you teaching them to look like 2 weeks out instead of 2 hours out?
I wish I knew a better answer to that, because I really haven't figured out how to teach them that. It's just me knowing what needs to take place. I'm only 33, but and I feel like I haven't run the business all that long, but I feel like what I have learned has taught me really to be farsighted in everything, and just kind of knowing the whole scope of the project. When I look at an addition or something like that, I'm thinking about the trim. Okay, how's the trim going to lay out? Is that window going to hit right there? When this roof goes up, are we going to have to take that out of there? So I'm constantly looking ahead, and I try to teach my guys that too. Okay, we had a situation this morning. We're framing up an above garage, master bedroom up there. And they came in and I told them, okay, bring the wall out 48 inches and go up. Well, the way that the rafters are coming down, it hit with this weird transition where we would have like a 3/4 inch space of like wall coming up and then hitting drywall. It would have just been all we had to do was just move that wall out 2 inches and hit the collar tie, and then we'd had a 90-degree corner. That sort of thing is what, I pick up on instantly, but my guys don't. Same thing with the plumbers. They're looking at something, and where we've got, a vent line going up through. Well, if we had just moved that vent line over one bay, I wouldn't have to worry about it for where the lighting fixtures are going to go and all of that sort of thing. So really there's no good answer to your question. It's just that I'm trying to teach my way through to everybody that's on the job site of what we're all working together towards to get to the end project.
With that being said, what is the thing that you struggle with the most?
Honestly, keeping my guys busy and being able to understand what I envision for each and every phase of the project.
Keeping them busy throughout the day, throughout the week, or looking further than that?
No, not looking further than that, because I don't expect them to be to that point. Mm-hmm. So let me kind of back up. So I've got a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old kid that are working for me. It's
just you three.
Just us three. Yep. And they are two awesome kids. As far as drive, as far as what they want to become, they're great. But they are green as green can be.
Sure.
And so, neither one of them have very much experience whatsoever. They show up on time and they can read a tape measure. And in this day and age, I hate to say it, but that's about as good as you're really going to get for kids coming out of, high school and stuff, getting into that. So what I've kind of done is I've tried to slow myself down and try to talk my way through everything that we do, from the simplest stages all the way through the most complex things. I put a whiteboard in the shop so that usually each morning we kind of go over what our objective is for the day, and then how we're going to achieve that, what we need to do with that. I also got textbooks from the local tech school on the basics of carpentry. And I gave them those books, and I'm basically giving them overtime pay to study those books if they can ace the tests that go with it, so that they're, trying to give them incentive to further their knowledge on their own time. Not so much, we didn't have, or at least when I was in college, we didn't have the YouTube. We didn't have all of that sort of thing. The internet as much, it was there, but it wasn't as, I would say, as easily accessible for information as to what we have now. And if somebody were to show a little bit of drive and initiative, you could learn how to do this stuff just by, teaching yourself. And that's what I'm trying to teach my guys, is to actually like, okay, next week we're going to be doing vinyl siding. I want you guys to research it. Find some articles on fine home building, read those articles about it. Find a couple of YouTube videos from some decent guys. I gave them links to all the Instagram people to follow, everything like that. I just want them immersed in the business in general. Nick, what's your question?
No, I was just making sure I was
Instagram
on that list.
person to follow.
Okay, no, it was all
You're on the list. Yeah,
it was all Curtin.
You guys made the list.
Is it messed up that I have a Tim Hortons page up right now on my computer?
What's it say?
Smoked sausage breakfast biscuits on an English muffin.
Isn't it Canadian Carpenter that goes there every day? I think that's his go-to place.
I gotta close that down. I'm getting hungry all of a sudden. How are the kids react? Do you think that are they receptive to that? Is that something that they're digging into on their own?
I haven't seen it as much yet, to be honest with you.
Pop quizzes.
I should do pop quizzes. And here's the thing that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure all three of you guys are a little bit different in learning abilities. Both of the kids learn completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, like, I can explain one way and it makes perfect sense to one of the guys. The other guy has no clue what I'm talking about. So it's very difficult to do. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best ways that I can teach both of them at the same time.
Sounds like someone could have used the next 2 years of that school.
Yeah, I think so.
Just saying.
I don't know.
Going back to,
That's a tough situation to be in with two people who have, like, it's hard enough to have somebody by your side that's like inexperienced, let alone two.
Well, going back to what I think you were trying to answer was the thing that you struggle with most is keeping them busy. So is that's on a daily basis then? So is one completing a task maybe faster than you think? Is that kind of where your head's at with
standing around, right?
A little bit of both. Both of you guys have the same thing. So it's when you can't necessarily go back to what Tyler said. When you have one person, they can just kind of follow and be your shadow.
Sure.
When you have two people standing around, that kind of makes it, you look at those dollar signs and you're like, man, I'm paying two guys to just stand around.
Sure.
But you can only give so much responsibility at this point. Like, I can't just say, hey, go frame up those walls over there, because they're not to that point yet. They're not to the point where I can just, give them a set of plans and let them build something. So I kind of have to handhold them all the way through. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. That's not at all what I'm trying to imply. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to say that it makes it more difficult through the day to day, because I'm sitting there trying to think, okay, I'm 10 steps ahead, but still trying to go backwards to tell them, okay, you need to add blocking for the drywall there. You need to pack this out in this place like that. And each time I give them a little bit more responsibility. Like, we built a small garage. They ended up doing 3/4 of the siding. We did one side together. They did the next side, together they did it themselves with me coaching them the whole way through. And then they did the back completely by themselves, and each time I see that they're growing in their skills, but we're so diverse in what we do. We can be doing high-end trim in kitchens, and then, we can be doing dirt work, like laying block and doing the concrete work. And then, it's not like we're just doing, high-end bathrooms all the time and you get to learn those skills. We're doing mostly everything from the ground up, we're hands-on with, and trying to teach all of those skills it takes time. There's no way around it. You can have the best guys ever. It just takes time to learn. And, I think anybody that's really, if you're serious enough to be on Instagram and follow all these people, you care about your work. You care about what your reputation is. You care about what you're giving your customers. And I don't feel like I can just let two kids go in there and just build you something, and then I'm going to charge you what I feel like it's worth, because that's not fair to the customers either. I still have to be involved with it, and the quality has to meet my standards. And that, I've made them rip stuff back apart, and Dad did that to me back when I was learning how to do stuff, and it builds character. It's annoying, but it builds character. And so I think that's kind of where we're at with that stage of my business.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be ripping a lot of stuff out with two new guys.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I feel like it would it would almost be impossible to get anything done, because even if you're the lead on a job and you have somebody who's just shadowing you, that's one thing. But then you almost have to slow down so much to get on their level to show them what to do. But then again, you now have two people that are doing it. So you can't go do your own job. You can't really coach two people through it because they're learning at different rates or different ways. So I feel like that'd be a pretty difficult situation to get through.
It is. And here's the situation. I didn't plan on hiring both of them when it happened. They both just kind of happened. But I've gone for the last couple years with literally just Dad and me working on these projects, and both of them have potential. And, it was one of those things I just had to kind of take them on, and, I don't regret it, but it does make things more difficult at times, but when they learn, we will be a great crew, but we're not to that point yet. And it's one of those growing pains, I think, that will be worth it in the future.
So if it's you and your dad working together and you're doing additions, all that, like you built your own house and everything else, what are you subcontracting out?
The mechanicals. We would hang the drywall for the most part. A lot of times I do the installation, the drywall, and then have a finisher come in and then a painter come in. But as far as everything else, we would do our own flat work. We would do a little bit of block work. I started subbing out my block work later on, just because those guys could come in so much quicker than what it was with us. But I mean, pouring the concrete's not too bad when, you're only doing, a couple yards here and there. That wasn't bad. So we would do pretty much everything other than the mechanicals and the paint. I mean, I'll do my own siding, windows, roofing, not always, but, a lot of times we will.
What about on bigger jobs, like when you built your house?
When I built my house, I brought in a framing crew and I worked with them we had this place framed up in 10 days, and then they did the roof. I did all the windows and the siding. I subbed out the insulation, the drywall, and the paint on this one. And then I did everything else. We put radiant floor heat in here. I did all of that. I did all the tile work. I did all the hardwood floors, cabinets. There's a lot of timber frame stuff in here. So I did all of that too. A lot of old barn boards.
How did you not work and work on your house at the same time?
I did work. It was the worst year of my life. I had a pregnant wife, a kid, and business was crazy. It could not have happened at any worse time. One of the biggest, coolest jobs we've done as a business was happening at the exact same time that I was building this house. So I was getting up 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, coming up here, getting stuff ready. And then I was going to the job. I was working 6-7 hours during the day. The customer was awesome. He was relatively flexible. I was able to get enough done that it was still moving forward, but not enough that I could have probably done the project quicker. It was not a profitable project. It paid the bills through the time, but then I would come back here and work until 10, 11 every night. And then weekends. I don't work Sundays. That's my one thing. I won't work Sundays. And I stayed through that. I think there was only one Sunday afternoon that we did anything here. Every other Sunday through the whole process. And we have like a 3,600 square foot house, and we were completely done in about 9 months from start to finish with it.
That's pretty good.
It's crazy. I don't think I could do it.
I mean, it was, people have told me that it would take me 3 years to kind of recoup. Some other guys that have built their houses that run their business and stuff. And I would say they're probably pretty much right. I mean, both mentally, financially, everything. I mean, it set me back for sure, but I mean, I don't think anybody else could let somebody else build their house, really. I think if you're in this trade, that's kind of like at least for me, that was always my pride and joy to be able to say that I built my own house.
What was the other job that you were working at the same time?
It was an entire house renovation. So there was 2 additions on it, and then it was a complete exterior. And then basically every room inside of the house was, we did something in, whether it was the kitchen, whether it was hardwood floors throughout, all new trim, doors, redid 2 of the bathrooms, then did what did we do up the stairs? It was the shiplap up the stairs, and we did a lot of fake timbers in there. So they were real true hand-hewn barn beams, but they were just for show. They were just for looks in there.
All right, boys. Nick, Tyler, how much do you think that renovation was?
I want to know how you and your dad did those 2 projects in 9 months by yourselves.
I mean, I kind of wonder the same thing. You know, I sit there and look at it and I'm like, how in the world did I manage to get all of this done? You know, we broke ground February 28th and we were moved in, you know, end of September. I mean, I guess like, so yeah. And I didn't pay anybody on the house, like to actually help me do any of the trim work for the most part, like any of that, like all the carpentry work was done by me. Even my dad, which you're going to get on him. Even my dad charged me for his time on that. It wasn't even a freebie for that. I'd get an invoice from him each week.
He's no fool.
No, he's a smart man. He told me that's why I'm working right now, and he's sitting there playing on the tractors, right?
Hey, you still built yourself a house, so
yeah.
Kudos to you.
Yeah, exactly. We renovated a house. My wife was pregnant at the time. It was a tough year financially, mentally, everything. So, and we certainly didn't do it in 9 months. And you're considered done, like the house is done.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said it was 90% done when we moved in. There was like, I didn't have mudroom cabinets in there.
But it's done now.
But it's done now, yeah. No, it's not done. There's still a couple pieces of skirting. There should be like some Scotia molding on the stairs that I haven't put on yet. But other than that,
that's done.
Yeah, that's more done.
Done. It's done. The whole thing, like I had some parameters for the house I wanted. She wanted this curved set of steps. I wanted to pull my hair out. I've never done anything more complicated than curved steps. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done.
Did you do them?
They look cool. What's that?
You did them.
I did them. Yeah. Nice. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done because we have old barnwood floors throughout the whole house. So I had to make each tread turns and changes. So you have to scribe each tread. So I made old barnwood treads to match and everything like that. Yeah, it was a cool project. I really don't know if I want to do it again, you know, but it was cool.
So John wants to know what the remodel price was, or the renovation price was, John.
Yeah, but I forgot the scope now.
Well, how big was the house?
Which house? The house I remodeled?
My
or the house
attention span's like this big.
The one that you were renovating, because I'm curious as well.
The one that I was renovating was probably 2,800 square feet. We put a 12 by 48 addition and a deck off the back, new roof, windows, siding, soffit fascia gutters, stone chimneys, kitchen appliances, hardwood floor, everything.
500.
What's your guess, Johnny?
425.
Nick?
600.
Man, I must have charged way too low. No, we were just over 300 for it.
It's crazy.
I was gonna say
almost said $1.
Now, and you know, it's like I'm slowly trying to learn that. That's maybe one of the things is like trying to figure out where you should be pricing wise.
You made everything. The comment that it wasn't a profitable job. Was it not a profitable job? What was the reason? Do you think?
Say it for a third time.
Because it was a 3-month project that I stretched out into probably 7 months.
Okay.
If I were hustling on it, I could have done that entire project in about 3 months.
Okay.
So if I had done it in 3 months with the crew that I had, now that summer I had 2 helpers. Like I won't even call them guys. I will just call them helpers.
And they were working on that job and your house?
No, they really didn't do much on my house. Very, very little. See, the problem when you get high school kids, they don't have the drive that you do when you're building your own house. So they don't want to work 20 hours.
No, that's because there's girls.
Exactly. And so, you know, in the hot summertime, they don't want to come back and then work till, 10 o'clock at night at my house. And in fact, after I worked one of those kids.
That's because there's beer.
Well, one of those kids went and got a job at Walmart after that because they paid him more money and he didn't have to actually do any physical labor. I'm like, wow, when Walmart's a step up from working for me. I don't know, that's it's kind of embarrassing.
How much did you pay for the company?
Yeah.
Would you do it again? Would you build another house for yourself?
That's a no.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Like, it's funny because you can sit there and no matter what you do, and I'm sure you guys deal with this, there is never a project that a carpenter will do that he's happy with. There's always something that you would change, no matter if it's for a customer or if it's for yourself. Yep. And there's so many things I would change in this place. You know, I'd love to have a second shot at it. I'd love to have a second shot at it if I didn't have to work another job.
Sure.
So no, I mean, if I would like to build like a cabin or something when I get older, retirement age, build like something like that. I would like to do that. I'd like to build my kids' houses. That I think would be fun. But just the stress of trying to, have young kids, run the business, and build your own house at the same time and live with your in-laws. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And no, so I wouldn't, not right now, not in this stage of life. I wouldn't, and I probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody else.
Going back to when you started designing the house, was it entirely designed around you guys, or was there some thought that you would use this as a marketing piece? Like this,
both.
Hey,
it was designed entirely around me. No, I shouldn't say entirely around me. My wife
except for the staircase.
That's selfish.
Yeah. My wife gave me a picture of what she wanted, and I'm like, yeah, we're not building that, but we'll take that and we will. Well, she sent me a picture for like an 11,000 square foot house. And I'm like, you go on House and they've got all these gorgeous houses, and it's like, yeah, that place is cool, but we're not building something that big. So what I did was I basically took it to, the girl that does drawings for us, and I said, this is kind of the footprint that we want. This is similar, but we are literally building it around this curved set of staircase, and that's what we did. So we designed it for, our needs, but we just designed the plans. I just drew it up and I said, you figure out roof lines. I know kind of what it's going to do, but you figure out the roof lines and I'll build what you come up with. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And then, yeah, I definitely set it up for marketing in the sense, I have a kind of a niche. I like the rustic style. I don't want to say, it wouldn't be primitive, but I like doing, barn beams, and I like doing more barn woodwork and just, kind of that style, more country style. And so I figured this would be a really good time to do some projects that nobody's ever paid me for, but then I could show other people, hey, this is what we can do. We can, do this sort of thing. You can incorporate this kind of look. And it's, I would say that portion of it has really paid for itself, because I've been able to bring some, potential customers over here and show them some things, and, they fall in love with it. I've actually probably built my same kitchen with the beams and stuff probably 3 times now for other people. I feel like if people can actually physically see exactly what it's going to look like, they're more apt to go with that than, me describing or what a CAD drawing would show.
Absolutely.
So you have a shop on your property too?
I do. Yep. So I built the shop first. That was the first thing. We built the shop. Originally, my plan was to live. Yeah. Oh, definitely priority. Well, I have to have a shop to be able to build all the stuff that goes in the house, right? So I built the shop first, and originally I wanted to put it so there was an apartment up top so we could live up there before we build the house. It just never really worked that way. We found a good little investment property that we bought, and I flipped that, or kind of lived in that while we were, we put that on the market. It sold very quickly. So we ended up moving in with my in-laws just for the time frame for, I think about 7 months while we were finishing up this place.
How big's your shop?
40 by 60 is the main building. Then you got the upstairs. It's probably 3,000 square feet of usable space. And then the outside, I have basically shed roofs coming off of them, and those are 60 feet long. So I park all the trailers, put all the scaffold planks and everything. They're 60 feet long, 16 feet wide on each side.
And what is it mostly for, staging, or do you have a shop space? I know you said you do a lot of barnwood stuff. Yeah,
upstairs is all staging. So upstairs is just excess material. There's a bunch of barnwood, there's beams and stuff up there, stuff that comes off of other jobs, just more or less storage place. I have an office in the front corner up there. And then downstairs is your basic wood shop. So you got the table saw, the planer, chop saw, drill press, band saws, kind of the compressors, all that sort of thing. So overall, I don't really park anything in there. It's mostly just storage. And then, when we build stuff, we use the shop a fair amount for actually building stuff. I like building cabinets. I'm not set up like, Nick's shop to do high-end cabinet stuff like that. If we build anything, I take it and then get it painted I have a guy that has a spray booth and does that. I don't have a spray booth or anything. But we can build, I made it so that I could build timber frame trusses in there. If I wanted to, we could do bigger projects in there, so it's basically, you've got 3 sections that are 20 feet by 40 feet wide that are wide open if need be in there.
So, I feel like I need this in my life.
You definitely do.
Have that.
What's that?
You have it, Tyler.
Dude, not like this. Mine's all old and not done and needs to be fixed. And
yeah, I put radiant floor heat in there, and
he's got radiant floor heat.
I haven't hooked. It's hooked up this season. We'll see how it works. I haven't. This has been the first year I've had a wood stove in there the last couple of years.
Tyler, you have a heating system that just fills the entire place with air.
Carbon monoxide.
Yeah. No, it goes out the roof, most of it.
So, Tim, you built your own home and use it as a marketing piece. You bring clients over there, but you're focusing on, renovations and additions. Is there any part of you that wants to get into building full homes or?
Oh, definitely. There definitely is. So our next project is a full house that we're building. It's not a very big house. What's that? New construction. Yeah, it's a 1,500 square foot house. So like right now, I mean, it's from the ground up. It's a field right now. Actually, we've got to clear some woods, so we're starting with that.
You said 1,500?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, they're building a house that's 15,000 square feet right down the road from that. But no, this is a 1,500 square foot house. So ever since you guys had the Jeff Sweener podcast, that one kind of got me thinking like, okay, what am I going to be when I get to be my dad's age? Am I going to slowly morph this company into being able to kind of be more like what Johnny is with, a project manager on things? I don't know if that's even in the realm of possibility just for the area that we live in, without having to travel a long ways to be able to do it. So there's big time developers around here that just come in and they just get the cheapest labor that they can do, and they'll put 100 houses in a development. Any of the custom, it's hard to get into that custom home market because there's only like 2 or 3 guys that do the custom homes, and they have the whole setup where they offer, like the design build. They have people on staff that can give you drawings and show you all your options and stuff like that. It's hard for me to try to break into that market of like, how do you get to be that big, with the skills that without having the skills to be able to do all the drawings and everything like that. Another kind of downside to getting into the new homes is just the labor market. Like in our area, I don't know what it is up in your guys. We have a lot of Amish. Amish just work for nothing. And there's some really, really good Amish carpenters out there. There's some bad ones, but there's some really good ones. And what they work for is almost amazing in the sense of,
Why is that?
Why is what?
Like, why are they working for such cheap labor?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they pay. I know that their taxes and stuff aren't quite like what we pay with the workman's comp and stuff like that.
We need to get an Amish person on the podcast.
You probably, yeah. Actually, I do have one that he would probably come on. He's an Amish back.
Need technology? Are they
don't use computers.
John Marley has Amish framers.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of.
No, there's some Amish guys there's one guy that texts me. He's an Amish guy. He does some concrete flat work for me from time to time, and he texts me. He's got emojis. He's got his iPhone. He's got Facebook.
Rebel.
Is he a Mennonite or is he Amish?
Oh, he's straight Amish. He's straight Amish.
What emojis does he send? Like Amish
Definitely
emojis?
The unicorns like Tyler's recently used.
It's the smiley faces. He's all smiley faces.
He's high.
John Marley said his Amish guys don't have cell phones when they're on the job, so they use the Amish cell phone. It's a house phone that plugs into his car. I guess
there's a framing crew. They come in and they've got a legit setup. They're good framers. But yeah, they have like a house phone that's plugged into their trailer that runs off the generator that they call at lunchtime. They call in their material orders and stuff like that. That's
what John's guy has, like his Suburban. And John says if he's too far from him on the site, he has to have him go back towards the car so he could hear him. Because it's just like a cordless phone. We got to get one of them on the podcast for sure. We go to John. They're actually framing a job in a town a couple over from me. I don't know if they'll be down for it.
No, most of them won't even let you take their picture. Like I've had some of the guys help me on different projects, and you got to be really careful. Some of them are very strict about having their picture taken and stuff like that.
Interesting.
That's suspect.
I don't want to speak for the Amish because I feel like I could say something that'd be very wrong. But I do believe that as a community that they support each other.
Yeah.
financially and everything else.
So back to, I don't mean to cut you off, but to Johnny's question, or maybe it was Nick, I'm not sure, why they're so much cheaper. So they just don't charge, like this one crew that'll do some framing work. They just charge $40 an hour per man. Okay. So there's 4 of them. What they can do, they can knock out. So they're basically, they're charging you not a whole lot of money. They can do more work than my crew could do in a month. Those guys could do in a week. Okay. And they're not charging a ton of money. And I know they don't pay their guys all that much. I know a couple of their lead carpenters are making 15 to 16 bucks an hour. Wow. Okay. That's a lead carpenter. I mean, these dudes are good.
I need to get one.
And that's what I thought about that. I mean, they're all over the place where I live, but I don't feel like driving them around everywhere. They don't drive vehicles.
Might be worth it.
Wait, how do they get to the jobs?
They have to get a ride.
So, okay, I don't want to get off on a crazy Amish tangent, but
we have to now.
Yeah, I'm very.
But that's where I was going with they support each other.
Yes,
as well.
they support each other.
Okay, but if they're not allowed to drive cars, are they Ubering?
No, they have somebody drive them, but financially, I don't think that they need as much money because even their church, they all they'll pool money, or if somebody a family needs money, they'll raise money or give money to that family.
Yeah, so Tyler's 100% right.
And I also don't think that they don't have expenses if you can't use modern technology, what are your expenses?
Sure.
Their expenses are very little. They make most of their own food. They make their own clothes. The one Amish crew that I've worked with, these guys, they literally own the trucks. They have 4 Pettibones, 3 trailers completely stocked, and they own all of that. They can't drive the trucks. They have a white guy, English guy, I guess they call us, drive the pickup trucks to the job sites and then drive them back at the end of the day. But they can operate all the Pettibones. They can operate everything. But yeah, that's what they are. They're extremely, the Amish community is very entrepreneurial. They make money. They definitely do. And they own a lot of stuff, but there's some kind of crazy bylaws with it.
Does the English guy work with them?
Sometimes. Most of the time, they're just fat white guys that drive and sit there and.
John Marley sends me videos of the Amish kids driving their dads on lulls.
Oh yeah,
like 35 feet up in the air.
John is totally gonna kill you for saying that.
Nah, he'll send me videos.
Everyone's gonna be texting him yo, send me that video.
The guy's the kid's 11, and he's got his dad up on a high reach, putting up whether they're trimming windows or siding or whatever they're doing, or sheathing the side of the house. And John's oh yeah, he's been doing that for 3 or 4 years. The kid's 11 at this point.
I don't know how we
you guys make conversations go in some crazy directions that I did not expect it would ever go.
That's why people listen.
It must be, because I don't know if they want to listen. We're just rambling on, but yeah.
No, I think it's
find
interesting.
Stuff like that interesting. There's an Amish market around the corner from me, and they bust them down every Friday morning and then bust them back on Saturday. And they're open 2 days a week. They bring all their own stuff that they make. They can't drive. They put them in these trucks and drive them here and drive them back.
Is there a rule book?
They have really good soft pretzels too. So good.
Wait, but is there is it a rule book?
It's a religion.
Well, so I'm not an expert.
But the religion has to do with them driving and
They're separatists.
Yes,
they want to separate themselves from modern technology and modern man. If I believe, if I'm correct, even as far as their clothing and stuff, they don't use zippers. They only use buttons.
Tyler's looked at
Mennonites are different, though.
Yeah, Mennonites are different.
Mennonites have the same beliefs, but they're just not as extreme.
It sounds like a superhero.
A Mennonite?
Yeah, right. It does. Is that on X-Men or something?
Yeah.
I looked it up once. I find the whole that whole culture very interesting.
So the Amish church, there's different governing bodies of it, and they make the rules for say whatever sect of Amish you are. So there's more strict ones, and there's more, call them liberal types of Amish. So like the one crew that I've talked to, that I've used, those guys, he only calls between 7:45 and 8 o'clock at night, and he will call from his house phone. And if you don't get a hold of him, you don't get a hold of him. You're not going to
on Instagram.
And it's one of those things, like I had him lined up for a job. I hadn't talked to him for a month, and he shows up at like 6:30 at that job. And I'm like scared to death the dude's not going to show up, and he did. He had it scheduled for it, and then there's, other ones like the other guy that I've used that does he's got Facebook, he's got an iPhone. He texts me funny face emojis, that's
a lot of them breed dogs too.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know why. I think anything the Amish can do to make money, they will.
Yeah.
And I think, breeding dogs is probably highly profitable.
A lot of them breed dogs.
The liberal Amish are going to be listening to this being like, you guys are all wrong.
Yeah. Probably.
Do they have radios?
Whatever liberal Amish is listening.
They love when I turn the radio on, John.
Yeah.
They won't ask me to, but they love when I turn the radio on. Yeah. And, they like sports radio, sports talk radio.
Really?
Yeah. So they read the newspaper every day, which is weird because the Amish are probably more up to date on, what's happening in America than I am, because they read the newspapers and they will come in with like 6 different newspapers, and they'll just switch. They'll take a break they take a 9:30 break and they take a 12 o'clock break. And then they switch to,
somebody holds it out front of him. The other one sits pretending he has a remote, and then they switch the pages.
Yep. They literally just read it, and then they'll hand it to the guy on the right, and then he'll read that newspaper and they'll hand it to the next guy. Yep.
It's got to be cheaper than a cell phone, Bill.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, this conversation really went down a rabbit hole I didn't expect it to go down.
I'm just fascinated.
This was actually on my list of things to talk about, so let me cross that off.
I don't even know how we started down this road.
I don't even know.
About the labor, how building new houses, that there's a lot of Amish labor.
Yeah.
Yep.
So getting
but it is. I also think that they we can get back on topic soon, but
Still going.
they have to like abide by the rules, and they all will help each other out. But if they don't, you get like shunned and kicked out of like whatever group that you're in.
Yeah,
so
they
all like walk the line. Yeah. And then like you're cut off for good. You're no getting back in.
You are an expert. Why did we just ask you all these questions, Tyler?
I don't know.
I just Googled Amish rules. First thing comes up is Amish rules. Second, Amish rules on beards.
Yeah, but look up buttons. They're not allowed to have zippers.
Look up what?
They're not allowed to. They don't use zippers on their clothes. They use all buttons.
I believe that.
Yeah,
Nick's down.
That.
I hate buttons.
Button-up pants.
Yeah, but on the pants, I hate button pants.
Yeah, nobody likes a button fly.
No.
Just silly. What else is on there?
10 things you may not know about the Amish.
Let's read them.
Language.
Just read them while you have them there.
No, it's not like a punch list. It's like work, taxes, military service, technology.
Well, go to the taxing thing because...
I'm curious.
Are we really doing this right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want me to read it?
So John's going to...
work, taxes,
John,
and
you're going
military
to dig
service.
into Amish taxes.
Well, yeah, traditionally...
Or should we devote a whole podcast to this?
No.
I'm going to go with no.
You had mentioned that they're not... Tim, you mentioned that they're not taxed like us in the workman's comp.
It's not like us. I know that they do pay some taxes.
Right,
They do not pay Social Security or Medicare taxes, but they do pay income and other taxes.
They're taxed on their earnings according to the Young Center. They pay all the taxes, income, property, sales, estate, corporate, school, that other people do. In fact, many of them pay school taxes twice for both public and private Amish schools. They do not, however, pay or collect Social Security, have been exempt by Congress in 1965 because the Amish viewed it as a form of commercial insurance. Instead, that they believe the members of the church should care for one another's physical and material needs. In some states,
Told you. This is all old news. You're just repeating
old
what
news
I
for
already
you.
Educated you about.
Okay.
Amish are also exempt from military service due to their belief in non-resistance, a term they prefer over pacifism. Yeah, right.
It's interesting.
That applies not only to war but also law enforcement, politics and legal actions.
So there's no cops in the Amish.
And there's a photo of Amish workers raising a new barn in Kentucky, and there's 40 of them.
There's an army.
One of the fastest growing population groups in America.
What are you holding up?
Phone.
I can't hear.
Phone.
All right. Let's get back on track.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
Tim, question I have for you is, we've talked a lot about what you do. How many products are you like Tyler, one at a time, or are you dabbling in a couple different renovations at the same time?
I'm probably closer to Tyler. I don't like having multiple projects going just because of, for one, I feel like it makes not the best customer, builder relationships if it's like you're pulling off their job to go to somebody else's, because like most of the time we are dealing with people that are, you're in their space, like you're right in their master bedroom or you're in their kitchen or anything like that. So when a job stalls, like that doesn't really look good. But there are times when you've got mechanical guys in there and you've got, drywallers, painters, all that sort of stuff that you have to run multiple jobs. So I would say I would probably have like jobs overlap. I don't usually have multiple jobs running at the same time, like whereas I'm just running around from job to job to job getting material. I have jobs that will overlap at times, but I try to just stay with projects kind of from start to finish as best we can.
I'm just I gotta stop.
Tyler's texting us.
I'm going down a rabbit hole that I can't turn back. Somehow I ended up on Amish memes, and it's just really, it's very hard to podcast right now.
It's very hard to focus.
There's a photo of them playing baseball, and it says, a swing and a mish.
Oh God!
All right.
Sorry,
Yep.
Tim. This is
this never happens. This
we'll
never
post
happens.
a link to this after the podcast.
It'll be in the show notes.
Probably just like edit this whole portion out of it.
We'll post
No
a
way.
link to
This is gold.
Oh my God!
My wife told me I should be interesting. I don't know if you can get any more interesting than how this conversation went.
Like, how do you take that? Be interesting. Like, if my wife said that to me, I'd be like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
would freak out.
I'd be like, "What do you mean? I'm not just I'd be overthinking everything."
I'd be thinking of why she doesn't believe that I'm interested.
Right?
Like, wait, does she not think I'm
Now she's
interested?
going to listen to this, and I'm going to get in trouble for like throwing her under the bus somehow.
Hey,
If she makes it all, I'll tell you what. If she makes it all the way through, however long we're into this, I would be.
she
surprised
makes
if
it through
she
the
gets
Amish. You screwed.
I knew he was going to talk about that.
If you
All right,
hear
so-
Amish, just fast forward. You're gonna be hitting the 15 plus 15.
Plus 30, you might just blast it.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna let that go for now. I'm ready to pay attention again. I'm sorry.
18 Amish memes.
I'm done. I'm gonna wait to finish the other 17 until after the podcast.
So
I'm gonna behave now.
I feel like the cash flow is probably the biggest struggle. I thought about this after our last podcast, when Tyler was like, "I like to put 100% into one person." I took offense to that. Like I am giving 100% to each client. It's just how do you manage it where your expectations, production, and all that stuff at the same time. But like, if I could do one house that could pay my salary, I would do that. We just can't do it right now.
What?
I'd have to do two
If
projects.
you only had one project, would you be giving that person like 200%?
No, I think my bandwidth is greater than that.
I take offense to that.
Yeah, well, I'm just... you can. I don't know why.
Right.
I mean, realistically, if you, whatever your salary is, if you were to scale back and minimize all of your overhead as low as you possibly could, you could probably find a way to make what you're making with a much lower volume of work and be able to focus more on a lower volume. Maybe not like longevity or scaling your company, it'd be more difficult. But I think that it could definitely be done.
But you don't need to scale your company at that point. If you have the right subs, I'm with you. I don't think I'm there yet.
See, I guess I would be different because I'm the one that's physically doing the work instead of subbing things out. I think it's almost easier when you're subbing because you're doing a lot of new construction when you talk about that, right?
A little bit of both.
Okay. But you're there's always something happening, I would say. Like, regardless, even if you have 3 jobs, I remember you have different, subcontractors that you can have electricians on 2 different jobs at the same time.
Yep.
I'm not quite that way. So it would be like if I've got somebody's kitchen torn apart, and, I pull off of that to go, start building somebody a garage while their kitchen's sitting there torn apart for 3 weeks while I wait for.
Well, no, I think I wouldn't pull off when you haven't finished framing. I'd finish framing, then let rough electrical, plumbing, HVAC roll through.
100%.
Because then what are you guys doing at that point? Just like looking at the guy's work? So
just because it's a small enough job that's not taking weeks or however long. It's like a day or 2.
Well, that full renovation. That full renovation you did, that was multiple rooms. There's a time where you're framing downstairs while electrical, plumbing is starting upstairs, like vice versa.
Yeah. So like say for the addition or something like that on that whole house. So when we get everything framed up and it's roofed in, it's sitting there, it's got zip wall on it, it's weather tight for the most part. We do the interior framing, plumbing, electricians and stuff, mechanical guys are inside. I'll jump out to the outside. I'll start doing the deck. I'll start doing the the siding and stuff on the outside. When those guys finish up inside, then I jump back inside. I'll be doing the woodwork, will be doing any of the insulation, drywall, everything like that. Once that drywall goes in and I've got tapers in there, then I was moving on to other rooms. And, on a project that size, there's always something for us to be doing the entire length of that project. But on like a bathroom, right now I do have 3 jobs running, because I have a bathroom that is just stalling. By the time you wait for granite to get in for the slab and for the countertop and that sort of thing, I've got that one going. I've got that above garage bedroom going, and I'm finishing up a garage that was a new build. All 3 of them are going at the same time because 2 of them are wrapping up and one of them is just taking a long time to do. So yeah, I have to have multiple jobs running at that time. But in an ideal world, I would have, jobs overlap where they need to, but wouldn't necessarily be running multiple jobs.
So I
can't handle the stress. I don't know how you do it. You're like, I watch your stories. You're like a freaking maniac of how you can mentally handle everything. I would lose my mind in the stress of just trying to keep it all straight and feeling like I'm letting somebody down with it. That's probably my biggest downfall is I take things too personal if a customer's not happy with me.
I mean, thank you. But the other part of that is the toughest part about social media is that before I used to be able to have a meeting with a client and them feel like I'm their only client or vice versa, like they're my only priority. Like I always have my phone on silent so that way I'm not getting distracted. Yeah, I can see it on my watch. But here's the thing is like now with social media, they know that once that meeting's over, I've delegated, I've got the crew going, then I've moved on to my next meeting. And so they know it. So there's a little bit of jealousy there, but it's still a tough thing to kind of go through where I do give 100%. Like a client today was like, hey, we're both home. Like they're never home at the same time during the day. And they're like, hey, can we walk through today? And I was like, what time are you thinking? They're like 2 o'clock. I'm like, I got to go to wake at 3. So I still went and went long for an hour and a half. But like for that hour and a half, they have 120% of me. Like going through, making notes. So I think each client really feels like that they're getting 100% of me. And then we are spreading out. Ideally, we are staggering stuff. I'm not starting 3 projects at the same time. We are staggering it. So it doesn't, we're not kind of totally, my bandwidth's not totally jacked up.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
So it is tough to do, but I think I had a point somewhere and I lost it.
Do you think, I'm asking the question over and over in my head, do you think new construction is easier to do multiple projects at once than it is versus renovation?
Yes. Well, I don't really have experience, but I would say yes.
I would say yes.
And the reason
I think it all depends on the design.
Okay. I'm thinking the reason being is that
What about 2 jobs with the same scope, except one was starting from scratch and one was a remodel?
I mean, they both have to go in reverse somehow. Because one has to do demo. You have to clear land.
I guess a more specific question would be if they already like a renovation where people are living there.
Well, that's a whole dynamic on its own.
Yeah. Versus,
And I think that's where I come in, because
that's primarily what you're
99% of my projects that the people are still living in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like setting up the temporary kitchen
right. So
for
when they
them
come
or
home
something
from
like
work
that.
and you weren't there all day, it's like, dude, like what the hell?
And there's like in each project. So, an average big addition for us is a 3-month project. Like when you do like the whole kitchen addition, the whole thing like that. And there's the first month and a half is kind of like the honeymoon period where they're all excited. Everything's happening. You see constant change. And then you come down to those last couple weeks when they're, that honeymoon period's over. People are frustrated. They haven't had a kitchen for, as long as it's been, and it looks like it's about done, but you come down to that punch list thing. That's the time frame that people seem to get the most frustrated if you're not finishing things up when it comes down to the end.
So
go ahead.
I was wondering, how do you approach that build then, like to keep it streamlined? Because I feel like for some of my bigger projects, if a client, I don't want to push it back up against the wall for a selection. So like having multiple jobs going where, again, it's all subs and I can manage it. But if a client has to take their time on, let's say, Windows, and they want to see another iteration of whatever, I don't want to put pressure on them because my only cash flow is through this job, and that they need to make this decision today because I have to do something with my 2 guys and myself come Monday. So if they want to take... Go ahead.
I just feel like cash flow is not as big as of an issue when you're smaller.
But if there's nothing happening, you're not billing for anything.
Yeah, but if your overhead's lower and you don't have the complexity of business and you're not doing that volume, like your cash flow doesn't need to be that big.
My cash flow is literally just to pay the subs for the most part.
Exactly. So like the cash flow for somebody like myself or Tim, where you're self-performing, you don't have that many subs that you're paying out, and it's like material costs.
But it's more that your own guys, like you have to schedule out them for the year. So if they don't make a selection and it holds up a rough plumbing inspection, that becomes stressful. It's compounded. Am I wrong?
I just feel like it's simpler because you're not picking for like an entire house, you're picking for a kitchen or you're picking for a bathroom. So it's like, it's a lot simpler. There's not so many moving parts that it's easier to keep them running. And I mean, that's like a lot of times why I don't subcontract drywall out or things that I don't necessarily want to be doing, because it's just easier to stay there, even if I'm not making what I want to make, than to try and like find other stuff to do.
Well, Tyler, to that point, it's, I think to that point, if you're doing the work and you're self-performing it versus, say John or myself subcontracting it, then, the subcontractor, we're paying them a certain amount regardless of how long it takes, like that.
Yeah.
And that's due. Where if you do the drywall, and it takes you 3 times as long, your hourly rate basically fluctuates accordingly.
Drops. Yeah.
Hey, now I made $8 an hour this week,
Yeah, but like think of the other thing where I have to have another job running or need to create work for somebody or go find something else to do for 3 days or 4 days or whatever it may be, where my hourly rate could fluctuate, but I'm picking up a day or 2 in my schedule and I'm not having to leave that job. I don't have to pack up all my tools. I don't have to clean up. I don't have to go to another job, set up there, break down.
Right.
I feel like it ends up being a wash.
I think self-performing, you become more malleable, where when you're subcontracting it, that you don't have as much flexibility there.
I mean, also, like when you're self-performing, if you have downtime, it's like, okay, I now have 2-3 days where I can get into the office and not have to work until midnight to like sort out schedule for down the road or get the next job or permits submitted. I just feel like it's a completely different
But what about Tim?
business model.
That can be for you, but what about the 2 guys? If that scenario that Tyler just said, that there's a little bit of downtime, you can go do paperwork, but what about those 2 guys?
That's what I run into. That's been my biggest struggle in trying to have, there's only so many projects that we can do at the shop. There's only so much things you can do. And that's where, I mean, that is where the good side is, that they're both young. They don't necessarily have families that they're trying to support, because it's such a hard thing to try to do, is to keep them busy when these things do arise, like you're saying. But let me ask you a question about cash flow. So when you're saying cash flow, are you billing pretty much these customers weekly to keep this going, or do you guys take like a large sum of the project and then that carries you through for portions of the project?
No, we're billing as we complete stuff.
Okay.
So every 2 weeks.
I guess my cash flow issues are a little bit different. I don't really have them, because like the way that my proposal is set up, I kind of base it on like the overall scale, but generally I will have, the time we most of the time start, I have at least 50% of the job cost as the initial commencement, and then it goes stage based after that. So say for like an addition, after framing, you collect another 20,000
milestone.
After, yes, and it kind of goes that way. So I think that kind of eliminates the need for, or the stress of necessarily being, like I'm not billing once a week. There is just one lump sum that comes in, and then it may be a month before I get another check, but that money then, carries me through all the way through. And, there's money in the bank that kind of, it's not always a perfect flow. You might be taking some money from the last job that's, just in the bank sitting there, and then that covers you until you get to, your last draw. And usually it's always like you get an influx of money because you get a last check from the project that you finished.
Hopefully.
And then you get your, your deposit check from the next job. So it's like all of a sudden you've got a bunch of money, and then you feather that out through, and then it's kind of the same again. At least that's how it works. My business model, the way I have it set up, that's how it works.
I mean, when I had my first company and I had 2 guys with me, we did one at a time, and we did everything from, frame to finish. Obviously subbed out the necessary things, but we would hang our drywall, do our own tile, all that stuff. And yeah, you can only devote so much time to something else. But it only time I struggled was that pinch point where, let's say they didn't go pick tile on a large scale renovation, which was like a master, a couple other bathrooms, where it became to squeeze us. And as a boss, where you get paid last, that sucked during those points. So it made me want to explore, hey, do I have another project that if I have 2 guys that can kind of run themselves, I can still keep things going? Like
I 100% would like to get to that point. I'm not saying that my way is the way that I'm doing things now is the best way to do it.
But I do think it's very common. And
it's very common. I think that's how. Well, you can look at it both ways, because I get the question a lot of times, are you going to stay on my job site? Because my neighbors had somebody come in here and they started the project, and then we never saw them again for a month, and then they came back. So like you can look at it twofold, that when I'm able to tell a customer that, yes, I'm staying with you, I'm the one, people are buying me personally when they meet me, and we, have the initial site meeting. So they're, I'm there all the way through. So I think that,
but most of those guys leave.
What's that?
Most of those guys leave and go to another job site because of cash flow. Like my first boss, he would have us start framing, and then he would probably take a little time for the electrician to get there. We'd go frame something else out. You get me? Like it sucked. And that's why I didn't like doing it that way, because I saw how he did it, and it was like, this sucks on a client, meaning they don't know when things are starting and finishing and blah, blah. So, but it was more because he wanted to go get another deposit check from somebody else. So we'd go drop material, and that's when you got into this game of chasing a check. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's why I was asking it, not so much questioning you, but just understanding the philosophy of how Tyler, and I'm glad it's similar to Tyler's approach, because it's good to see something that's different, where it's a 2-man crew, 3-man crew with you, and Tyler, who's a 2-man crew. Like, just seeing the differences there, opposed to this side of the table where it's completely subbed out.
And if my intention when I first started this was always to run 2 crews, to slowly phase out to where I'm more of a project manager and I'm kind of committed, and you have 2 crews. I just never thought it would be this hard to find qualified employees.
I just think it's really hard when you still have the tool belt on, just because you're so deeply immersed in every detail of every job, and like actually doing the work, and then trying to teach people, and then fielding the phone calls. I feel ideally, I think that you should be like a small crew running one job at a time if you want to make money, whether it's 2-3 guys, in a perfect world, so that your customers are happy, you can make money, your employees can stay busy, or you need to take the tool belt off and you need to manage and have more than one job going at a time, and a good group of subs, so that you can still keep however many jobs you have going running the way that they need to. I think that John, like you said with your old boss, so many people do that because they're not necessarily properly set up to be running more than one job at a time, and they're just like, hey, there's not enough money on this job, I need to start something else to get more money, and you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. And at that point, like, customers have houses with nobody working in them, jobs aren't progressing. That's not the right way to do things. I think that there's different sides of the spectrum with those two, but I feel like it's either you have to stay very small, be in the field, keep your costs low, or you need to take that tool belt off and manage. And whether it's managing your employees in-house like Nick does, or managing your subcontractors like you do, so that all your jobs move forward. I think it's almost impossible to be on the job and be managing more than what you have going. Something slips, and like you said, you feel like you can devote 100% to each different customer, but if you had your tool belt on, it wouldn't be that way.
I did it and I failed. Right.
Yeah, it's impossible. That's one of the huge reasons why I am where I am, because I can't process. I know what that leap looks like. It's not something that I want to do, and I weigh the pros and cons of what that looks like, and I see it many different ways. It's not where from a mental standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a financial standpoint, it's just nothing that I want to do right now.
So what's the plan for both you guys, long term? Selling your company for $100,000 isn't going to cut it.
YOLO. Realistically,
sell it for 100 and become Amish.
Damn right.
I would like. I had spoken with Nick about this too. I would like to find something, whether I invest in some rental properties or something like that, to have some sort of residual income, where it's almost my retirement, short of an IRA or a Roth or something like that, where I have money coming in. If I have spare days or downtime, it's like, hey, you can scoot over and do maintenance on this, fix this. We have a turnover here, and keep some people busy, but it wouldn't necessarily that. I think that contracting small scale would still be the way that I make money, but then the other side of the business, whether it's multifamily rentals, not anything huge, all residential type stuff, would basically be my retirement and some fill-in work and stuff like that to kind of keep busy. I've seen that more as my path to where I want to be than anything else.
Mailbox money.
Basically, but if you think about it, I have money set into a financial advisor, and I look at it and I don't have that much money that I'm making heaps of money on top of that. But it's if I were to take my money that's invested right now and put it into a rental property, and whatever my costs are, if I'm walking away with $20,000 per year and I'm paying down a mortgage at the same time, if I put $100,000 into the house to buy it, I can't make that type of money on the small amount of money that we have invested.
Agreed. Tim, what about you?
I think I want to be kind of more like you. I think what I would say my long-term goal would be to get a couple of guys that work underneath of me for a while, and then I can be able to pull back. I agree with you 100%. Both of what you guys were saying. You can't be 100% focused on, being a project manager if you're still wearing the bags. I would like to be able to pull off from wearing the bags and be able to be more where I'm, using my guys, but I'm not the one that's necessarily doing everything, and maybe have multiple jobs running at that point. I think that would be, a viable option where you're still able to give the customer service that you want to and the level of quality, but then I'm just kind of overseeing things. I just don't feel like I can do that quite yet. because I don't have the manpower to do it yet. And I don't know any other carpentry subcontractors that I could even use to become that, in the small scale of things. I don't know how it is up where you guys are, but there aren't you got guys that are like trim carpenters, but they're doing, these big $1 million houses. You're not going to get them to come in and trim out for an afternoon and keep a schedule on, keep it on a schedule that you need to be able to do that. You can't, that's why we do everything in the size that we are, because we can't schedule anything out. It's so hard to try to get subcontractors in the trades necessarily to keep it on, what I can frame up and build in 2 weeks could take a month and a half if I were to just completely sub that out to other people with trying to get their schedules lined up.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely one of the reasons why we keep a lot of stuff in-house too. It's not necessarily that we want to be doing it or it's the most lucrative for us, but when you look at big picture, we're not paying out of pocket for it. And the money is going into our pocket, and we're saving so much time on schedule, because when you are that small, if I bring a sub onto the job, I either need to go somewhere else or I am still on the job. And at that point, it's like, well, I'm still on the job. Why am I paying somebody to do this? So it doesn't make that much sense.
On a previous podcast, someone had said that every one of their trades, he looks at it that way. He's like, if, all right, what if we do that? If it's cheaper if I put my guys on it, we're going to bring that in-house. And then that's why I think he ultimately brought in painters, in-house painters. I think it was Kirby Perkins, maybe.
Might have been.
PM.
Yeah.
But it's to look at all that and manage it in-house. And Tyler, to your point, whether it's you or whether it's like our team where it's like my guys are already on site, you and I, to go back to the conversation that we had, it's, we want to scale back the amount of projects we do, have more dedication for one team to run a project start to finish, and not have this multiple job scenario, so we can, because we're self-performing so much of the work. And I look at, for instance, Mike's team. Mike is very much he's the project manager, but there is still some hands-on approach there. He's overseeing the guys working in the field, but he's intimately involved with what's going on every single moment. And the overlap or the multiple job scenarios when he might have one smaller project going on that can kind of sporadically fill in the schedule, but also working on pre-construction for a project that will be starting upon completion of the current. And that's kind of how that's the multiple project role he's playing. But I guess what I'm getting at is we're dealing with the same thing where we're not slowing down, but we're taking on less work and having more time on site. And now we're looking at each step in all of these trades that we're hiring and subcontracting, and realizing we don't need to do that. We can bring that in-house.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. We want to bring it in-house.
I mean, if you have the guys on site and you're paying for them and you're not looking to put them on different jobs and kind of move things around and shake things up, if you have the jobs with the budget to set guys on a job and do things almost frame to finish, there are some specialty trades and everything else, but I feel like you'd get more productivity out of your guys if you set them up on a job and all their tools there. Absolutely. And they're not breaking down and leaving and then trying to wrap their head around another job, and then they haven't been on that for 2 weeks, so they're coming back and trying to resort out the details that they kind of dropped when they had to get off that other job. I don't know what the perfect answer is. I think that John does what he does well. I think that it's all management, and I think that that's very smart not to mix those two together. I try and do things where it's as little management as possible, just because I don't have the wherewithal and the systems in place to be doing that. And I think that Nick, you're in a case where you are looking to shift towards handling more of that stuff on site while you're already there, because you have the crews in place and owning that labor at that point. I feel like it's almost what's the name of the guy that we had on from up in Rhode Island, Sweener. You know, like he owns so much of that labor and keeps it all in house and doesn't subcontract a lot of that out. But there's pros and cons to everything. Do you want to keep guys busy? Do you want to have the overhead? Do you want to have to worry about the cash flow? How much money do you need to make? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I guess it's different for everyone.
It's all about the systems you have in place. If Nick didn't have the 12 employees, would it be easier for him to kind of manipulate that schedule and that budget to find a trade?
Yeah.
Like the new framer I found, like I saved $15,000 on a frame, and I got it done 2 weeks earlier. And yeah, it took a little bit more management. I probably couldn't have done that without having John on my APM and basically overlapping where I'm not there, he's there. It's tricky. I don't think there is a silver bullet in this entire conversation. I think everyone has different, capabilities and different burdens for stress and cash flow issues and how they want to shake it out and how they work with a client. There's no real easy answer here.
All right, so let's flip it to you. What is your goal? Like, what do you ultimately want to see you guys become or focus on? Would you scale back to one job at a time, realistically?
I'm debating that every day. I think there's a company, Doug Whitler Brothers. Mm-hmm. It started with him and his wife. She did the design, he did the build, and very, very simple. But they did like one house a year. And
That'd be so sick,
right, dude? It would be unbelievable. And I'm like, how do I get there? And Nick, you and I have talked about this. It's like, okay, social media can take us so far, but when we want to get into that next tier or echelon of whatever we're going to do, mm-hmm. it's more brand awareness. And how do you create that brand awareness beyond social media? Is it putting in print? Right. Regardless if we're trying to not do that. In print, I know
John's staring at me because I told him I was stubborn. I was going to prove everyone wrong.
No, we had a legit conversation about that. I think there's a certain threshold where there's work coming in mm-hmm. from some of the people that we've seen that we look up to, where they don't do a lot of social media, and the social media looks like it's just an intern printing out whatever BS. And so no multi-million-dollar client is reading that going, I need them.
Right.
Like what we put into it. So it's how do they get those? Is it just the fact that their experience is 20 years deep? Or is it the fact that the inside cover of every magazine that's in Boston has their logo? Mm. Or is it the relationship they made with an architect? Is that going to take us 5 more years with the same architect for them to build their reputation for you guys to then be able to get this job? And I debate that all the time. I would love, Tyler, to have a 4-man crew, and we do 4 projects a year. I think that's where we'd want to be, and then be able to build our concierge division to then maintain these houses that we build, so our clients are completely has zero effort towards living in a home that we've built. That's kind of my goal. Financially, how do I have retirement? I think it's having the same thing you said, Tyler, is looking into vintage development and doing more passive income, mailbox money, where you buy these things, you fix them up. The hardest time I'm having with these is that for me to afford this multifamily, whatever it is, it's not to the level that I build at or I'd let someone live in. So my wife and I look at these houses and we're like, oh, here's a 2-family, blah, blah, let's check it out. We walk in it, we're like disgusted. And we're like, how will we build this to what we want? And you'd overbuild it so you never get the rent back.
Right.
And it's like the standard of living and standard of expectation for what the rent is.
But could you skew that? Because, like, to Tyler's point, or to that conversation we had, is that, it brings back the enjoyment to what we do on a daily basis. Where, I think the conversation came up in is, like, the stress side of what we do, chasing money, getting clients' expectation, in line with our delivery, setting realistic budgets and schedules, all of those things that we deal on a daily basis that, we're constantly trying to communicate and oftentimes, not getting that message across, where if you call it mailbox money, then you can be more selective with the projects that you take on, as
But it shouldn't be, because that mailbox money is your retirement. Like, that's working for you when you're not working. Like, that's when we just incorporated a 401k for our guys. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I did my estate planning. I don't know if you guys have done this, where you do a will and you designate who the kids are going to. And my wife's worked her ass off corporately forever. When you do the whole asset thing, there's not a whole lot on my list. Like, it puts you in your place.
With, like, if you're buying those type of properties, they should be bringing in like a yearly amount of money, but then you're also paying down a mortgage.
Agreed, and you're getting equity out of it.
So, like, your retirement realistically shouldn't be that yearly income. It should be paying down that mortgage, so that, you know, if you're taking out a 15-year loan or whatever it is, 20, 30, that, like, at that point, those are the big numbers that now the house is paid off.
Oh, you want to be cash positive monthly.
Yeah.
And then when you pay down that equity into that house, then you have that asset. Mm-hmm. But then
also at that point, that all that money that's coming in is basically profit minus taxes, utilities, maintenance, and stuff like that. And, like, I feel like that's your retirement. But you still, if you had multiple properties like that in place, would be having money coming in that's plus, and then it takes a little bit of heat off of, hey, like, do I really need to push this other job? Do I really need to sign that 5th build where it's like, maybe I could cool off a little bit and I don't necessarily need that, and you get back to focusing on all the things that really makes you happy about being in this industry, rather than like, hey, I need more cash flow, I have to sign another job, I can't let this job walk, I need to reduce this from the budget or pull this out of the scope, so that we're just be like, all right, well, like, I don't need that, you know?
I mean, I'm going to say that I don't have that conversation. Like, I've been lucky enough that when we started Vintage, that products have kind of fell our way. We're on, like, the good side of what's falling our way. So I haven't had to see that, and I haven't had to take a project. I've taken products, stupid products, where I've done stuff for free to kind of, you know, whatever, and kind of help people along and do that stuff. I haven't done that at all this year going forward. But my point is that I'm not taking projects on and having to cut my rate or my percentage overhead and profit to make that job happen. Like, year one, instead of being 13%, we may have been 10. We may have capped our management. We may have done these things to get the projects going because we had no work. You know, it's what we had to do on year one. But going forward, now we're a much different company. I know it's only been 2 years, but, like, having our overhead hitting all our salary the whole way and not having to worry about it which was great. And then having to add health insurance and then vehicles and all that, and then hitting payroll and hitting all these expenses. Yeah, we up our percentage. That was actually a question I had for you, Nick, was that we talked about this in a previous podcast, is that you've influxed all these people into your company. What did that do to your overhead? Like we had to jump from 13% to 18%. Not jump, but that's what
most of these guys are being billed at per job.
Yeah, but you still have in-house stuff that didn't change. Like, you have stuff that's management, that's construction managers. You had girls in the office doing, you know, bookkeeping, and you're still paying that. Now you're paying build a trend. You're adding expense to your company.
Yep.
How has that changed your margins that you've kind of?
I mean, well,
because stuff that you sell year one lingers with you for the 14-month period. Like, as you learn your numbers and you've taken on stuff and you've done this, like the last 3 months of that project being at 13% is like, dude, that 13% does not cover what it's supposed to.
No, that definitely impacted it a lot, especially in that growth year. Like, most of our staff is billed per job.
Yeah, hourly.
You know, so even, like, you know, the project managers, they're billed, you know, on the hours that they spend on the jobs. The guys, you know.
Yeah, but you created those budgets.
Correct, yeah.
That you can hit and can't hit. It's not an open checkbook.
Right.
So you're backing into those management hours.
Correct, yes.
So that learning curve, I'm not looking at you. I just know when I've done it, it's like, hey.
The other things.
We had X amount of hours, and now we're burning that.
But beyond that, like, the overhead in general, like, beyond people, bringing all those people, there was multiple, like there's other things, more vehicles, like, like parking tickets.
This
like,
building.
Right, the shop. So that, our percentage, it swung from, maybe a higher profit and lower overhead to now a higher overhead to a lower profit, and has thus, especially more recently, is that now we're looking at it line by line as, we're near the end of the year and say, all right, we need to build a budget for next year and look at all of these, what we spent in each of these categories, and can any of them be shrunk?
Yeah, because you can say that you have these guys hourly, but that workman comp,
right,
still whacks you. They don't care.
Right.
So that's your,
yes.
It's just, I feel like that's what we did. So over 2 years, we went from 13% because that's what we come up with the business plan, and then we added a bunch of stuff that, it makes it a desirable place. Like, the Modern Oak. Sorry, Tim, but the Modern Oak podcast. When I started listening to it, and again, I started getting back onto our podcast, and it struck me as Andy said that people got opportunities that they couldn't pass up, and I listened to that going, why can't we make our own companies that opportunity? And that's what when I was listening to it again, I was like, why did I ask that question? Like, I'm driving in my truck going, why? That's our goal as a business owner, is to make this the opportunity that they can't look away from.
Right.
So how do we do that? So that's why we incorporated the 401k. We're getting company trucks. God, my side is thinking about it. And it's just doing the right things for the right people, because we know that we can't do our product. We can't build our product. We can't do what we want without them involved.
Right.
And it's an added expense. It's really not as hard as we make it out to be. I don't know about you.
Tim is like, I'm trying to take notes.
No, I'm just listening to it because what you're saying about, the guys. Like, I'm looking at my guys, even though they cause me a lot of headaches, it could be that potential down the road to invest in them, that they could be, I don't want them, like, I am way more apt to give them more hours than they actually worked, because I don't want them to go look somewhere else because it was so hard. I mean, some of them are getting paid more than they should be for their skill set, but I'm willing to do that because I want to keep them on
You're
and
betting,
try to.
You're betting on the future.
Exactly. And that's, that's because it's been so hard to find anyone that even has the, like, I mean, I don't know how you do it with 12 guys and stuff like that. That's got to be just kind of crazy.
Chaos.
I'm struggling with 2, and but I'm willing to invest in them to try to make it better in the future, for them, so that this is the place that they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, that has been my focus since the first person that we brought on full time, is that was going to be my number one, is creating a culture and creating a place where these guys felt valued, felt like they brought something to the table, felt like they were part of something bigger. And
they were like your first hammer you ever bought. Like, you always kept good care of it. You always made sure it wasn't left in the rain. Like, it's the same thing. Like, they're your best asset.
Yep.
Right. And that, I mean, even when times are tough or shit hits the fan, I still remind myself, it's like, listen, I made a commitment to these guys. This, and first and foremost is that we build this is about the culture, and that they come first.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. Johnny just said it. We make it sound harder than it really is, but I think I feel like sometimes I make it sound easier than it really is.
Yeah, definitely. I think that everyone's trying to find their place and kind of hit that sweet spot, and I don't know if it's
do you think
an impossibility.
We ever will?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's an impossibility, or I don't know. It's almost like when you go to have, like, people like, when did you know that you were ready to have kids? And I distinctly remember being like, I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Just like you're just gonna, like, figure out how to do it.
You commit to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, but, like, it's not like you're gonna have a certain amount of money in the bank account to feel like, oh yeah, we're good now,
No.
And I I don't know.
Just going to jump into it head first and hope it works out, basically. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
and
that's how everybody got into it.
Learning this stuff, there's such a slow turnaround other than an obvious, like, huge immediate boo-boo, but anything that you implement into your business, it's going to take a while to see whether that works, how well it works, whether it doesn't work, and kind of gauge that there's not enough time to be putting all of these things into place to realize, like, it takes a year before you realize that you grew too much, or you didn't grow enough, or you didn't charge enough, your overhead wasn't enough, that, like, I don't know if you'll hit that sweet spot. It's tough. I mean, I don't feel like I'm not where I want to be. Tim, are you where you want to be?
No, probably not. But
John?
Getting there.
Yeah, like I don't feel like anyone, I don't know, if you're where you want to be, it's probably like, all right, time to try and find something else.
Yeah, but like in 2 years from now, you ask me that same question.
Yeah, you're not going to be where you want to be.
Different.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Your hair is crazy.
I was just thinking the same thing. You pulled that hat off, man, and then you pan back over.
It's a lot of hair.
That's pretty epic. That's really epic. I like that.
Looks good.
I tried to tame it when we went to dinner.
Gel it.
No, I tried to gel it when we went to dinner.
The hard part.
Hey, Tyler, do you know that Ryan and Nick texted you at the same time to see who you texted back first?
And I won.
I knew that I was asleep.
You were asleep?
Well, you woke up and
I fell
texted
asleep
me first.
watching baseball.
I believe that.
So I keep checking. The World Series is on.
You're into that?
I like baseball, yeah.
What?
Yeah, he played
It's like
baseball.
the furthest I thought. Like, what?
I like baseball because it's always on. Like, there's always games on all the time, so it's something it's very easy to get into.
Okay.
You know? Like, you could turn, not that I ever have enough time, but even, like, I can throw the radio on if I'm working late and there's a baseball game on 6 nights a week.
You'll listen to it?
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
So
Baseball's one of those mindless things you can listen to, and it just kind of, yeah. I like listening to baseball on the radio too.
Yeah.
Dude,
Except for when
If
the
I need
Phillies were
mindless,
as
I
bad
need
as they were.
music.
I do all podcasts. I listen
to music all day, every day. It's just like, I don't know. I enjoy. I don't get to watch enough baseball, but I do enjoy listening to baseball. There's a lot of like subtleties and nuances and game within the game of baseball that it's like you could watch as much baseball as you wanted your whole life and not pick up on everything.
That's deep. So I had a crazy. We talked about this the other day at dinner, without you. Like
He was sleeping.
Like your
Something we should have done.
Yeah, dude. I did sleep till 11 o'clock the next day.
I was.
We were
you
out
text
way
me,
too late.
I look at Megan. I'm like, Johnny just woke up. She goes, it's 11:45. I'm like, I'm very jealous of this guy.
Awesome.
Okay.
But Tyler, like your tattoos. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I play hockey, and I coach. That's my release. Is tattoos like your thing? Like you'll fly to Cali, and then you'll get a full back tattoo for like I don't know how long that session is. Is that your like deep breath? Like this is my thing.
I feel like it was, but anything that's left really hurts. I enjoy.
But isn't
like,
that
there's,
like your release? Is that part that I've seen your back? Like
so, I enjoy. It's almost like a hobby in a way, but there's also like a very rich culture and tradition that's involved with it. So it's a very small community. It's a craft just like anything else. It's everyone kind of knows each other. It's an art form, everything else. I like the history of it. I like the culture of it. I like the tradition of it. So it's definitely, I don't have like, aside from work, I don't have anything that I really do for myself except for that. Right. And like, I've met a lot of people that are very close to me and friends in my life that like are tattooers, and tattoo. And that's just, I don't know. I've always been interested in it. And like, I'm probably heavily invested in it at this point. There's no more turning back.
a little bit.
But like, even I always joke around it on my phone. Like, I'm more interested in seeing that stuff just because it's outside of work. Work is work all day long, and it's nice to see that stuff. That I enjoy it, and I look at it different than you guys probably look at it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Tim, what about you?
Is that as far as hobbies or anything outside of work?
Dude, like, what are you dying to do if you had a full weekend or a full week?
I'm in the woods. I'm archery hunting.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I'm out. I mean, usually in September, we're off the grid. We're out Idaho, Montana, somewhere backcountry elk hunting. This time of year now, it's deer season. It's kind of good to be slow this time of year, to be honest with you. I would be in the woods every morning and every evening for the rest of November if I could be.
What was the last thing you killed?
Fly.
I killed a couple does early in the season.
You keep that meat? You like Joe
Oh
Rogan?
yeah, we had it for supper tonight. I got deer sticks in the fridge. Yep.
Deer sticks. You're legit.
Yep. No, that's my one thing. You know what it is? Like, work is work, and especially when you follow it on social media and stuff and get as invested in it as you are, it starts to overwhelm you. And going to the woods, just being away from it, that's what I love more than, besides family and God, it's being in the woods.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. Like when I started running again, like that run would clear my head. I can't explain it. I'm sure there's people that can, but like having that or even going to hockey, like, God, just something that's enjoyable where I'm a kid again. Like, I get to enjoy myself. It's a whole different, it's a good reset.
Nick's is definitely weightlifting and hot rods.
Yeah, what is it, baby?
Cars, for sure.
But you're not even playing with them anymore.
I know, but if I had a weekend that I could do anything, I'd be working on
What
my
was the
truck.
last thing you did for yourself? Not for the company, not for the family, for yourself.
He's got a new
I
truck.
like going. I don't know.
He's got a new truck, man.
Yeah, the C10. Like, that's probably the last thing I did.
So you bought something for yourself. Like, Tyler, did you buy yourself a tattoo?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
I mean, but you experienced that.
Technically.
I don't know. I mean, you said weightlifting, but, like, that's not... I don't actually really think I enjoy it. I like the peace and quiet and the hour to myself.
He's fighting off that dad bod.
Yeah.
Well, Meg said I had dad, but I'm like, I'll show you.
Nick this weekend said he's going to run the Boston Marathon.
I already have a bib, dude.
I turned to my wife and I was like, I might just run it so I beat him.
I did not hear you say that.
That's my competitiveness. I was like, I had no intention of running the Boston Marathon.
You should.
But I'm like, you know what? That's what I'll do.
It's funny because, like, my wife doesn't necessarily say it, but even, like, any time that I talk to my mom, she's like, you need a hobby. Like, you need something other than work. Your entire social circle is work. Like, and I don't know, that's just what you end up kind of revolving around. That, like, all of my friends are work related. I do keep in touch from some kids that I grew up with, like, go to a concert every now and then. Like, I've always listened to a ton of music, but I don't necessarily have, like, a hobby that I focus on where it's like, I'm not working, I'm going to do this. Which would be nice to get something like that in my life.
It's
my dog loves me now, so I have, like, somebody in my house who cares about me. We go to sit down at dinner, and the girls are like, I want to sit next to mommy. I don't want to sit next to daddy. I'm like, I just made dinner. And they're just like, no. And there's no way to rearrange the chair so that nobody can sit next to me and only sit next to mom. And I'm like, all right, I'll just hang out with the dog.
It's amazing to me when we saw him at his place with his old dog.
I know.
And to hear him now.
I know.
Yeah, my old dog was a pain in the butt.
Johnny, you said that, like, I don't work on them, but I was thinking with the C10, it's like now, I think it was, yeah, we went out Saturday. Sunday morning, I'm cruising, I'm looking at, like, parts, and I'm like, I should just start picking off, like, the stuff that needs to be replaced and work on it myself. I don't need to, I built that whole other truck as far as I did, The only reason I have someone helping me is because I don't have the time. But the C10, it's easy. Those trucks are simple.
I guess I'm just looking for that release. Like, I think it's a good balance to have that.
Absolutely.
Where, like,
do I think I have it right now? No.
No, and I wasn't taking a shot. I was just asking everyone what because I think people do need to focus on themselves a little bit more than what they do, because
Absolutely.
this can definitely get overwhelming, like Tyler just said. Like, I remember I used to tell people, yeah, I'd work all day, then I'd go home and watch like This Old House and like HGTV, and then if that wasn't on, I'd look at magazines.
Right.
Like, it's like, and because
And your wife looks at you and is like, shut it off, dude.
No, but I'd be like stopping TV shows and be like, see that? That's crap. Like, do you see that? I did it the other day. I was like, pause the TV. Or I walked in the room the other day, and it was some show. I'm not going to name it. And I was like, how do they have a TV show? And my wife's like watching it, and she's like, I don't really know. I don't get it, but I'm watching it. I'm like, exactly. And all of us are here, and we don't have TV shows, but there's crap on TV. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. So what are you gonna?
I wasn't talking.
What are you gonna do for? No, what are you gonna do for an outlet? Buying stuff on a catalog for your truck?
No, it's not buying
really,
it. It's working on it.
Yeah. So you're gonna be able to do that in Southie?
Yeah, I have the garage. A little garage next to my house.
That's yours?
I rent it.
I was like, wait a minute.
I've been trying to buy it from the neighbor.
You rent it.
You're
amazing.
But no, I think I just want to work on it again. I want to work. I used to love working on cars.
Yeah, that was like your release.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd love to work on the truck that I've been building for 10 years, but I don't know if that's doable. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
You don't have to.
Tim, I want to personally thank you for taking some time tonight. Hold on.
Tim,
all right, go.
Tim was at JLC last year.
Yeah.
And IBS, right?
No,
Yeah.
but at JLC, you weren't just there hanging out. You were you were there doing demonstrations.
Yep.
Explain to us how that happens and how you have the nerve to go to a not to it sounded wrong, but like I don't think I'd ever have the balls to stand up there, put bags on, and then demonstrate something in front of a bunch of contractors.
Yeah, that was pretty. I don't really know how it came apart. So I went to the builder show, IBS, which, to be honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing there. My wife is the driving force between a lot of the social media stuff, and she's like, yeah, you need to be there. So I went, and I met Mark Clement from Tools of the Trade, and he asked me to come up and do some things. He's like, do you have any cool ideas? I'm like, well, I like timber framing, and it's different. I mean, because let's face it, how many times can we see how to properly flash a window and how to put rain screen on? I mean, like that's all these builder shows are anymore. I know it's important.
I've seen top-down roofing now, so
yeah,
the bar is set pretty high.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, I can't deal with the hate on anytime you post anything on social media. If it's not the mainstream way of doing something, you just get everybody critiquing you. So I was like, well, I mean, we could do some timber frame stuff because I mean, I know my eye is always drawn to that. It's just cool looking. It's different. You don't see too many people doing that. So I was like, well, let's just try to do something like that. And the first one was an absolute epic fail. I got up there I screwed up one of the, you're sitting there talking, like you said, in front of all these contractors, and these guys are just like watching you, waiting for you to screw up. So of course I forget what I did. I think I put the mortise pocket in the wrong spot, something like that, and it took me way too long to do and all this stuff. But you kind of live and learn. And, I guess it's just, you just dive into it. I mean, I don't think public speaking is one of my better things, but I'm on a podcast right now. Just kind of dive into it.
What forced you into wanting to teach that part of the trade?
Okay. So I've sat here and complained for the last couple of years that I can't find any employees, that there's no kids getting into the trades. Nothing's happening with it. But if I'm going to sit there and say something like that, then I have to be willing to try to make it a part, make an effort to change that, And if I had a lot of kids coming up to me, because I mean, I know that there was a lot of tech schools and stuff up there at JLC. And there were a lot of kids coming up to me and talking, because I am young. I'm 33, they can relate a little bit more than you would rate. I mean, like This Old House guys, I mean, I look up to them more than anything, but they're harder to relate to than somebody that's 33, that's closer to their age, that's actually out there doing it. So what little tiny platform I have, I'm trying to use to help, to help with the trades. I mean, there is definitely a skills gap, that we have, for sure. And, I saw an opportunity and I thought it would be kind of interesting. I mean, I always grew up reading JLC and, the magazines and stuff like that, and had never been to that show. And I saw an opportunity and said, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that was huge. I enjoyed watching you do your thing, and I couldn't do it, man.
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could.
I gave up the bags a long time ago. I do it.
That's not what I heard.
I do it on my own house when no one can see, except for Tyler.
I was going to say,
we're going to get Puff there. Puff all camoed up and film you.
Working on your own house, hiding in your bushes.
Put skylights in.
Well, I was just asking because I thought it was cool because I think people, you weren't a crazy social media influencer. You weren't like known for doing, YouTube videos or anything like that, but yet you found your line and you took it and you went to a JLC and you started producing content that people could relate to. And I really wanted to kind of understand how you approached that. You just took a chance and you went for it. So people that go to these shows like IBS or JLC, go there and talk to these people. Talk to JLC, talk to Fine Home Building, talk to all these different places and they're looking for people to do this. They're looking for people to present. They're looking for people to set windows, to put roofing in, whatever it is in that younger generation that it's more relatable to. So step up.
Yeah, I guess I would say that it's real. For me, the passion is real. I enjoy doing this. I mean, does the job get tiring at times and stuff like that? Yeah, there's issues with it, like we discussed. But
any job,
the passion is there. I enjoy this job. I mean, anytime you can sit there and look back at something that you've built, when you started, it was just basically a pile of lumber. When you can look back and say, we built that today, there's a sense of accomplishment. And yeah, my passion is real. I enjoy this. I love this line of work. I wouldn't trade it for anything. There are bad days, but just like you said, every job has them. And I think that's probably the truest reason as to why I could get up there and do it, because it's real. It's just who I am. It's, it's what I enjoy doing. And yeah, it actually comes relatively easy to me to try to, explain that to others.
You're talking about something you love.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And that's the easiest way to describe it.
Do you have any events coming up?
Nope, not yet. I was actually going to ask you guys. I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth with the Builder Show just because, I mean, it's a tremendous networking thing, but it's hard for me to say I want to go to a show when I could be still working here. And it's hard to see the monetary value in going to that show. When you look at how much money you pay out of pocket to go, and I guess there's the early registration or whatever. My wife was asking me about that tonight, if I'm going again. And I'm not sure, to be honest with you, whether or not that's, it's the JLC
because
sure I'll go to in the spring again. But the Builder Show is just, it's almost so much hobnobbing and, just looking at products that I'm most likely not going to use in, just because of the size of our company that, you look at the cost analysis versus what you're gaining. But,
I mean, that holds true for the JLC. Like, I'm not going there for the products.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen enough shows, but I think I'll walk the lanes looking for that one product.
Right. And I think,
and the relationships.
for me, it's bringing part of my team to walk and have the opportunity to network, to take advantage of whether they're classes or product demonstrations, things like that. But you're right. It is very much a networking thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a company like yours, I think it would be Johnny's point is walking and looking for that one product and then maybe taking advantage of some of the education there.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, go ahead.
No, I'm looking forward to taking my guys up to JLC in the spring because that's a show that they could benefit from.
Especially being green, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, all those products are new to them, and it just kind of re-energizes their, initiative. It's like, oh, we can, you give them something to look forward to, make them go to some of those classes and just watch some of these things and the amount of knowledge. And, it's like you kind of get that emotional high of going to a show like that and you're excited to kind of come back and get started again. And, I'm looking forward to, that'll be an all expenses paid trip for those guys. That'll be like a bonus to them to go up for the weekend and that sort of thing. Totally. But I am looking forward to really getting them up there and being able to see that.
I know we're biased, but the JLC Northeast is probably the best one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think, is there one going on like this weekend or something, or soon?
There's
one
out.
Deck show?
Yeah, in Kentucky.
Something.
Yeah, Tennessee.
I
went to it.
The one up in Rhode Island, I think, is that was an awesome show.
Yeah, I mean, just the environment. But I do have to say that even IBS is, if you have an opportunity at IBS to meet people that may be mentoring you through social media, like let's say Brad at AFT or Jason at Artists and Signature Homes, you get to meet these guys face to face and then connect with them on a level that you couldn't on social. And then I remember when Jason saw me the first year we did the IBS, we were doing 9 different meetings and hitting all the booths the first year, and Jason was like, "Johnny, hey," and I met him for the first time, and I was like, "Bro, we have to get together." We connected for an hour, and I've stayed at his house twice, in his house, in one of his kids' bedrooms, just to kind of sleep there.
That's creepy.
Okay. My point is he's opened the doors to us. Benny stayed there too. To be able to open the doors to that. So maybe that IBS weekend isn't something amazing that you saw on the floor, but maybe it was that one connection you did make with someone in someone's company that can help you re-energize. I took Benny out to Kentucky to hang with Jason for a weekend, and man, we flew back dude, we're doing our own home show. We're Benny was on cloud 9 with me, and I could not. You can't find anywhere. It's like a drug. Benny and I on the plane ride home, we're dude, I'm writing stuff down. He's writing stuff down. We're trying to figure out we weren't sitting next to each other, so I was showing him stuff from the side of the plane. And it was that is something that you can't put a money value on.
For sure.
It fills the tank.
The first, when I first got on social media, I think Tyler was actually the first one I started following. And I drove to the Valley Forge show. What was that little show that we were at?
I'm okay. The Ideas show.
I don't even know what it was, but I knew that you were going to be there, and I wanted to introduce myself to you. So I just got in the truck and just drove down there and looked for you in a total creeper, walking through the show looking for you, some guy I'd never met, to introduce myself, and it's kind of turned into this, and it turned into a couple of articles in Fine Home Building because I met Justin Fink there, and it just, it just is all kind of, it's all organic. It just happened naturally, but it was all.
It didn't happen naturally. You drove somewhere. You put the initiative in.
Okay,
it wasn't you sat back and was hey, this stuff keeps falling in my lap.
No, okay. If you want to look at it that way, yes. I went out of my comfort zone, drove to Valley Forge, and went and found Tyler standing at the Huber booth and was like, "Hey, what's up, dude?"
See, that's the story.
At the Huber booth.
Yeah. What's that?
I said, I don't know what I was doing at the Huber booth. No, but at the same time, you didn't go there with the intent in a year to be writing an article on Fine Home Building or for the it was just to get out, go out of your comfort zone and meet somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the point of the networking side of IBS.
Yeah.
Which I guess you guys made my decision. I guess we'll go ahead and book to go back out there,
bro.
You could stay at home at work.
That would be fun.
We're going hunting.
It's February. There's nothing really happening. Actually, I guess it's in January this year, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
February last year?
I'd get into bow hunting.
Yeah, February last year. It's a month earlier this year.
What'd you say, Johnny?
I would get into bow hunting.
Bow hunting's fun.
I'm not that bad at archery.
Yeah, I like it.
Fun fact. Tim, this was awesome, man.
It was awesome.
A lot of random ass conversations.
That one really went. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and they go.
This one's gonna get a 5-star.
5-star. Oh, that's right.
Oh, we will. We got a couple things to announce. But no, we really appreciate it. Where can everyone find you?
I guess Instagram is the main thing. It's JK Holton _Inc. is my handle on there. But if you just search Tim Holton, it would come up there. So
that's the $100,000 handle.
Yep.
What about website?
jkholton.com.
What articles do you have for Fine Home Building? Do you remember them?
Yeah, we did timber frame front porch, like a hybrid timber frame.
Cool.
Was the first one that we had published, and that was on. So it was like my front porch here on the house, which was just like I wanted to try something that I'd never done. So it's true mortise and tenon, joinery, the whole thing.
That's awesome.
And then we did another one, which was an air sealing foundation. So we actually built a sunroom and we lifted the floor up all the way up. So like basically jacked it up with lifts, sheathed the underside of it, spray foamed everything, and then dropped it back down on piers because it was a grade level foundation. We couldn't get trucks back in there, couldn't get anything back in there. That one got absolutely ripped on social media. That one was just annihilated, but it was a pretty darn cool project. I'm proud of it, But
That's all that matters.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So
yeah, Fine Home Building Facebook page is fun.
Yeah, why is that? Not to change the subject and stuff, but like,
I think there's
Fine
just
Home
a
Building,
lot of people on there.
Yeah,
thought was a pretty reputable thing, but man, if anything, even like Mike Gertzen, who I think is a pretty top-notch contractor, he gets ripped on there. It seems like everybody, they just get
a lot
smashed
of people.
on.
Just a lot of exposure.
It's like YouTube. You have a lot of people looking at it, and there's always.
I guess it's just the negative voice is louder than the positive voice.
Absolutely.
Because you look at it like it's always people that like it's not my mentality.
You write that article and you feel it's a good article and you go in there smiling, waiting to hear the good feedback, and then when someone comes with a negative swing, it's immediate. Like that's what you process a lot harder.
But you're also on top of the hill, so people want to knock you off.
Right.
That too, but I mean, look at it from this point of view. Like, I can't really be proud of that and be like, hey, check out Fine Home Building published this article and it's on the Facebook page, because then my customer who follows us and sees everything goes on there and then sees 19 comments about, how much of a hack I am because we did this project. Like that just doesn't look good either on it when, like it.
I've run into that. I've explained why they're wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of discouraging with that sort of thing. But my wife says if you have haters, you finally made it somewhere. So I guess that's
your
one way
wife's
to
on
look at it.
point.
Yeah.
My wife is on point. She's the one that runs this whole
This
show.
is
I'm just a facade. I just have a beard. That's really what it is.
That's the first thing I commented with you when I met you.
Yeah, the beard. I got to go to the barber shop. I was trying to get nice and trimmed up for you guys today, but my appointment's tomorrow. So
Make sure we take a nice screen capture.
So hey, we haven't asked this in a minute, but who are you crushing on social?
What was the first one you open up and look for?
It's gonna sound stupid.
Nick.
The first one, no, it's actually TRG, because that's the first one that comes up. I don't know if it's because I watch your stories all the time, but it's literally like the first thing that comes up, and it doesn't seem like you post near as much anymore.
Yeah,
you guys are, and it's probably because I like the three of you guys wanted some of the most, so that those are the ones. I guess the way the algorithm works, you're some of the ones that are shown the most. There's some other ones that are more like timber framing things, the rustic construction that really interest me. Canadian Carpenter's pretty sweet. He does some pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah. Awesome
Framers definitely has some pretty cool tips on there. Those are all, it's like the framing kind of things. Even though I'm not a big time framer, I still I like the guys that can hustle on framing. That's
cool.
I always find that interesting.
Yeah, I feel like those guys are like the real men.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, no offense to anybody that does tile and stuff like that. Tile is not all that interesting, in my opinion. I like seeing big, heavy timbers. That's really all it is, That's which way I go to. Yeah.
All right, Tim, you guys have great coffee and breakfast sandwiches.
Appreciate you hanging out tonight, man.
You guys eat on me next time. You guys, it's all free anytime.
Yeah,
you
we're
come.
gonna we'll post a link to how to get involved with the franchise if you want after the episode.
I already made a note for Puff. Take care, man.
All right, thanks,
you.
guys.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
So before we get into our reviews, a couple things. We want to talk about a couple of new podcasts that popped up. Brad, dude, AFT launched a podcast. Didn't know that was coming.
I did.
And of course you did. You were in. You were in the know.
He's been talking about it for like a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's about?
I mean, he's interviewing people.
His subs and things like that.
I listened to the first one.
That's awesome. And then our friends over at This Old House, Clear Story,
Yeah, man.
they get their first episode up as well.
Kevin is the host.
Sounds like they're going to be talking about their projects from a different angle. I have not listened to the first episode, but I'm curious of what the different angle is going to be. First episode's about water or something?
Yeah, water.
And how we don't really give it much thought. So, those two new podcasts to check out after hours, of course. And then let's get into a couple of reviews. We got 3 this week.
Sorry, we all just looked at each other and giggled.
So we got 2 5-stars and 1 3-star. So let's start with the 3-star.
No, am I involved? I didn't read these.
Mitch from Idaho says, please keep interviewing the guests. That's where you make the best shows. Tyler's tangents about lower quality, like the guy down the street doing spec, are really annoying. When he gets complaining about what other people get paid for lower quality work, I just turn it off. Focus on what you do well and don't worry so much about what others are doing.
I think that he mistook me for John. I've never talked about anyone doing spec down the street.
Maybe not an avid listener, but Mitch, thanks for following up. And then we got HM Custom NW. Hey guys, just want to give a shout out and say that I really appreciate the podcast consistently going over 2 hours. In some of the early episodes, there was some discussion on the podcast length, and I remember Nick saying something along the lines of carpenters in the field want a long format because we need some good stuff to listen to all day. I completely agree with that. Keep up the good work. And then we got Chris. I was going to CD... I don't know. Chris. Hey, my name's Chris. I've got a problem. I jump in the car, and the first thing I do is get Modern Craftsman Podcast up and running. It's been a month since I found the podcast, and I'm almost caught up as I get ready to retire as a firefighter paramedic. I've started working on that Life Part 2, in air quotes, in the design construction field, and the Modern Craftsman is my master class. Great personalities, amazing content, full of great stories and education with a little comedy. They even throw in a little sports, hockey discussion from time to time. What more could you ask for? Thanks for the great content, guests, and stories. It's much appreciated. Well, Chris, HM, and Mitch, appreciate the reviews. If you guys want to hear yours read, make sure you drop a line. Typically on actually only on iTunes is what we pull up.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you listening on all
you can leave them wherever you want.
Yeah,
but we are pulling these off of iTunes, so make sure you hop on there.
And lots of people sharing the podcast.
Yes.
On stories.
Yeah, Modern Craftsman Monday. We post a new episode every Monday, and we put it on social with a little usually clip of the guest. So feel free to tag or reshare and tag that on Instagram. And as always, you can find us on Instagram, _Modern Craftsman. Email us at info@themoderncraftsman.org. And we cannot forget to mention December 12th, Randolph, Massachusetts, Cape Cod Lumber.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Soon.
We're a little almost a month, a little over a month. Yeah, a little over a month.
We should have him on.
Chris?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Next week.
Chris, call on you. Next week. I think we got a guest lined up next week, don't we?
I know, but we can throw him on the end.
All right.
Tail end. I tried to get a veteran podcast on today. It is Operation Finally Home, and they basically are a nonprofit. They're providing homes and home modifications to American military heroes and the widows of fallen veterans. So basically, they build houses, do renovations.
Awesome. Did you get in contact?
I did contact with them over the last 2 weeks. We just couldn't fit it in because we were trying to build awareness for Veterans Day that's coming up. And
let's get them on regardless.
Yeah, I think we will. We were connecting via email to the right people that could jump on the podcast for a half hour with us at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
So next week we will line that up and have them just do a short piece on Veterans Day. But it's a good option. I think all of us should look into it where this is our skill level. We should be able to put into this what we want to and help people that have defined our freedom.
Tyler, do we have a guest lined up for next week, or is that still pending?
I believe next week isn't it Spire Builders?
Yeah.
Yes. The owner of Spire Builders, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Correct.
following that might be Brent?
Yeah, I think so.
Brent Hall, and I know we got Chris from CMQ. He's in the roster as well.
Wow.
We got a few. Yeah, we're filling these spots up.
We're just going top notch.
Yeah.
High level stuff right now.
Well,
Hope you guys are ready.
Appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you.
Keep the reviews coming. We appreciate it.
Only 5-star.
Hey, no, because if it's 3, it's me.
Yeah.
That one was
Fine.
Tyler.
5s and 3s.
Thanks, guys.